This guy on YouTube says we never went to the moon.
Man, conspiracy theory. We definitely went to the moon.
Well, he also claims that the Earth is flat and NASA is hiding the truth.
Another nubby conspiracy theory. Of course, the Earth is a globe.
He also says that Elvis and Tupac are both still alive and are about to cut a hip-hop / rock Christmas album.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
But he also swears that alien meteors crashed into Africa thousands of years ago, and the radiation from the meteor fragments gave black men the biggest penises on Earth.
Oh, I heard about that one. Now, that one's true.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Soopuh Show. I'm your host, Super Sister. Today we descend into the dark and dank basement of conspiracy theories. Theories specifically designed to harm African Americans, and we pull out those dusty and molded folders containing some of the top Black X-Files of all time. But before we go full-on Scully and Mulder, we first take a look at the definition of conspiracy theories, and we examine why so many people arch a skeptical eyebrow and roll out a hot bowl of ridicule at the very mention of the topic. For this definitional breakdown, we turn to our own field correspondent, Maddie Green.
For some, the term conspiracy theory automatically conjures thoughts of illogically paranoid and delusional people who believe anything from JFK Jr. being an alien crossbreed cyborg from an alternate future, who is in fact still alive, to COVID-19 being the creation of the AI love child of both Bill Gates and George Soros that propagated the virus with 5G cell towers and via the special sauce that's slathered on McDonald's Big Macs. According to Wikipedia, a conspiracy theory is an explanation for an event or situation that asserts the existence of a conspiracy by powerful and sinister groups, often political in motivation, when other explanations are more probable. The term generally has a negative connotation, implying that the appeal of a conspiracy theory is based in prejudice, emotional conviction, or insufficient evidence. And in the case of most conspiracy theories, this definition seems spot on. But this textbook definition loses some of its move-along-nothing-to-see-here luster when we examine conspiracies aimed from white America onto black America. Because oftentimes, these conspiracies later turn out to be true. In fact, the air of ridicule behind any conspiracy theory serves to protect those in power, since it shields them from criticism, even when they really are conspiring to harm members of the public, and particularly African Americans. According to WashingtonsBlog.com, criticism of conspiracy theories is usually aimed at attempting to protect the state and key government players. The power of the state is seldom used to crush conspiracy theories regarding people who are not powerful.
Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis.
At least to the extent that they are not important to the government.
So this means that not all conspiracy theories can or should be dismissed without consideration, especially when it comes to conspiracies that take aim at African Americans. And because we have a long list of greatest conspiracy hits to choose from.
What do I think is the most unforgivable conspiracy theory aimed at Black people in America? There's so many. I mean, you got your classics such as the Tuskegee Experiment, COINTELPRO, flooding our communities with crack cocaine and guns. But you know, the one that gets me the most to this very day is the conspiracy to rob our dear sweet sister Angela Bassett of not one, but 2 motherfucking Oscars. Yeah, fuck the Academy.
Most of us can agree that Hey Auntie Angela Bassett deserved those Oscars. But we're going to highlight some different pearl-clutching conspiracies that have been launched against the Black community. Showcasing these conspiracies are our junior correspondent, Gamma Girl, our senior correspondent, Super Black Brother Man III, our special correspondent, Bombay, and our new general correspondent, Teacher Man.
Most of us might not have the following items on their top 10 of conspiracy theories that screwed over Black America, but they should. And these items include federal housing policies that conspired to prevent African Americans from buying homes, and the federal highway projects that plotted to destroy Black homes and neighborhoods by ramming freeways into the heart of Black communities all over the country. The 1944 GI Bill, which provided federally funded home loans for war veterans, was structured in a way that allowed only 2% of the $33 billion in funding to go to Black America. The other 98% was allotted to white veterans and their families. According to History.com, in 1947, only 2 of the more than 3,200 VA guaranteed home loans in 13 Mississippi cities went to Black borrowers. And historian Ira Katznelson says these impediments were not confined to the South. In New York and the northern New Jersey suburbs, fewer than 100 of the 67,000 mortgages insured by the GI Bill supported home purchases by non-whites. In the case of building interstates, the conspiracy aimed to use the highway projects as an excuse to demolish Black communities. We know this because, in many cases, even when more suitable routes were available, local white leaders routed the interstate through Black communities anyway. According to Reuters, in Montgomery, Alabama, the state highway director, a high-level officer of the Ku Klux Klan, routed Interstate 85 through a neighborhood where many Black civil rights leaders lived, rather than choosing an alternate route on vacant land. The road-building program ultimately displaced more than 1 million Americans, most of them low-income minorities. These two conspiracies are directly tied to the racial wealth gap in America, where white families have an average net worth of $285,000,
easy money,
but Black families have a net worth of only $45,000.
For many, the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male is perhaps the gold standard of conspiracy theories directed at African Americans that turned out to be true. Better known as the Tuskegee Experiment, the United States Public Health Service and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention conducted this unethical study on a group of approximately 400 unsuspecting African American sharecroppers from 1932 to 1972. Basically, the so-called scientists wanted to observe the effects untreated syphilis had on Black male patients. They told the impoverished farmers that they were being treated for bad blood, but in reality, they were receiving placebos. And even though penicillin was widely available in 1947 and had become the standard treatment for syphilis, none of the doctors and nurses in the study administered the antibiotic to their Black test subjects. According to Wikipedia, by the time the experiment was ended because of a leak to the press in 1972, 28 patients had died directly from syphilis, 100 died from complications related to syphilis, 40 of the patients' wives were infected with syphilis, and 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. So way to go, science.
I have no idea why Black Americans are so paranoid and see conspiracy theories around every corner. I mean, come on. We've sat back and let a Black man become president of the United States, and we didn't try to assassinate them. Not even once. Not once. What was that? We did with space lasers, but we missed? Oh, never mind.
COINTELPRO is the one conspiracy theory against Black America that if you haven't heard of it, you should Google it immediately after this show for more details. Because even though the government claims it shut down in 1971, chances are some new iteration of the program is still up and running today. A shorthand for counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO launched in 1956, ostensibly to spy on communists. It soon became the chief weapon to dismantle and discredit Black civil rights organizations and leaders, from Martin Luther King to the Black Panthers. So what was COINTELPRO? It was the Federal Bureau of Investigation's bag of dirty tricks that was aimed at preventing the rise of a Black leader who could unite African Americans who were protesting Jim Crow segregation and police brutality. According to Wikipedia, many of the tactics used in COINTELPRO included discrediting targets through psychological warfare, smearing individuals and groups using forged documents, and by planting false reports in the media, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, illegal violence, and assassination, also known as straight-up murder. Beginning in 1969, leaders of the Black Panther Party were targeted by the COINTELPRO and neutralized by being assassinated, imprisoned, publicly humiliated, or falsely charged with crimes. Common tactics used by COINTELPRO were perjury, witness harassment, witness intimidation, and withholding of exculpatory evidence. And these were not just a small collection of rogue agents. The plans for COINTELPRO came from longtime FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover himself, who ordered his agents to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of these movements, and especially their leaders, because he saw black militants as the greatest threat to the domestic security of the United States. Oh, and the FBI also wrote Dr. King a letter requesting that he should unalive himself, or they would expose his extramarital affairs to his wife, Coretta. Law and order at its finest.
One conspiracy theory that no one talks about is one in which the phone call is coming from inside the house. And what's that? It's the conspiracy theory that lays bare the plain and uncontested truth that black women and their damned weaves have ruined the black community for decades.
One could argue that the American government and its mostly white leadership has been involved in an ongoing conspiracy to exploit and derail black success and achievement ever since slavery. White politicians in each ensuing generation after the end of slavery in 1865 have conspired to reimpose a position of second-class citizenship upon black Americans by passing laws or enforcing policies, legally or extra-legally, that seek to turn back the clock. As soon as the Civil War ended, white politicians passed the Black Codes, which, among other things, arrested black men if they were unemployed and forced them to work for white farmers who were often their former masters. After the Black Codes, states implemented Jim Crow laws, where white political leaders stripped African Americans of the right to vote, lynched us with impunity, and denied us of our constitutional rights. After Jim Crow, white politicians conspired to invent the Southern Strategy, a political maneuver that used racist language and policies to court Southern white voters to always vote Republican, a strategy that remains to this day. Then in the 80s came the crack epidemic, a crisis many blacks feel was fueled by the CIA conspiring to import crack into black neighborhoods in order to use the drug profits to fund off-the-books wars in Central America. With crack came draconian drug laws that sent tens of thousands of black men and women to prison with long mandatory sentences for possessing even a small amount of crack. And today, the conspiracy of police brutality continues, with African Americans being 3 times as likely to be killed during a police encounter than whites. The conspiracy of housing discrimination also continues, with banks charging black borrowers higher home loan interest rates than whites.
That's bogus.
And home appraisers often deflate the market value of black-owned houses that are up for sale. In addition, black people still face the conspiracy of poor medical care as compared to whites, with many healthcare providers still believing we don't feel pain the same way whites do.
Ouch.
The list of conspiracies against us is long and persistent. So if black people are paranoid and distrustful of the government, doctors and hospitals, police, banks, and most all American institutions, then we have white supremacy to thank for it.
Hopefully by now, we can see that not all conspiracy theories are delusional departures from rationality. Many conspiracies against Black America are all too real. And one of the biggest conspiracies today is the cover-up of the conspiracies themselves. White politicians and their supporters in many states are right now in the process of banning diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And they want to erase Black history and hide anything that holds white America accountable for its less than stellar past. They are also gerrymandering us out of the right to elect our own representatives. And many white voters openly support a former president who is openly racist and who conspired to overthrow the government. I think it's high time that instead of rolling our eyes at all conspiracy theories, we should narrow our gaze and focus on the ones that are real, dangerous, and coming soon.